Hey, advisor family, before we jump in and do me and yourself, a huge favor. Follow, subscribe, and smash that like button right now. Whenever you're listening or watching right now, your support keeps this powerhouse conversation flowing straight to your earbuds every week. Now, today I'm beyond excited to welcome Dr. Yvette, international trauma expert, best-selling author of Metaphysical Anatomy, and founder of Metaphysical Anatomy Technique, a breakthrough method that helps people resolve deep-rooted emotions, blocks that block and reclaim their lives. Now, Dr. Evette has guided audiences in more than 40 countries, turning I'm stuck into unstoppable. Her passion right now, mindset shifts that move people from helplessness to empowerment. Even if they're tired, they've tried everything else, this is going to help you. If you're ready for fresh hope, practical tools, and the next level of results, buckle up and listen to this. Now, Yvette, I am so excited to have you on the show. This is such a great topic because so many people, right before the show, we were talking about have these repressed emotions and they're in their back of their head, they're in their subconscious, and it all starts from the root cause, and usually that goes to our childhood years. And sometimes traumatic events will occur as we get older, but a lot of times it even starts in our childhood years. Now, let's kick this off with, was there a moment in your own life when you felt truly helpless, and what single mind shift capulated you towards empowerment?
Hi, Stacey. Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. And I'm thrilled to be here with you as well. And this is such a great question. What a great powerhouse question. Kickstarter. So absolutely, I have also had my I call these moments on the knee moments, right? When you just feel so completely unresourceful, stripped of your tools, stripped of everything that kind of worked for you in the past, and now nothing is working. My biggest moment, if I really had to look back on my life, was the day when I had a stress-induced heart attack, when I had broken heart. I was diagnosed with broken heart syndrome just before I turned 30. This was during a time when I was living my best life, right?
Yeah.
So talk about, I'm teaching people how to live their best lives. I'm following my own advice. I'm doing great. I'm working and traveling the world. I live in my dream house. Everything I thought surface level was going great.
Yeah.
But somehow, somewhere in my body, it was not on the same, it was not running in the same linear path as what I thought my mindset was going. And I
Wow.
think my biggest mistake that I made there, now that I really deeply have reflected on this, which believe me, I have, because when you're living your best life and you experience something like that, it's like, well, me, I should be the last person who this is happening to. And here
Yeah.
I'm in the front line.
Yeah.
I misunderstood eustress, which is called positive stress, as my gasoline, right? Is that positive stress where we feel, wow, I love what I do. Let's go, go, go. We've all experienced that. We get on a high, right? We got on this adrenaline cortisol high. And we just want more of it. So the more we tick those boxes, the more we associate, that level of dopamine with accomplishment, with success, and getting to where we want to be, that feel good feeling, right? And then we
Yeah.
associate that also subconsciously with the cortisol and with the adrenaline. And so the more I was living this high-paced lifestyle, hitting those targets, knocking out those to-do lists and getting everything achieved and just seeing my success and feeling so great. Because if you have to look back at 2010, for a 27-year-old to hit, the $1 million mark, that was
Yeah.
pretty impressive. I mean, now it's like, yeah, okay, what's next? Right. But back then, that's like, wow, this was huge.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting here and I'm living my best life and I'm riding off of this positive stress. But like
Yeah.
anything in life, too much of anything, it can't be good.
All right.
Everything has a threshold, including us.
Yes.
Now here's the catch. Here's the catch. It took me a while to grasp and to understand how I managed, and get this, how I managed to use suppressed anger and turn it around into eustress, into a positive experience, because I realize now that back then I didn't feel safe to process deep anger that I
Yeah.
had toward my father. That was the pivotal foundational root cause behind so much of my stress, because we had a nutritious dynamic, nutritious, and so much stress that I didn't know how to process came out in this smiling all the time. I'm happy all the time. I'm living my best life, and bypassing how I really felt with this high euphoria, you know, behavioral pattern that became literally like it's an addiction, right? You
Yeah.
become almost like this adrenaline addict junkie. And my heart said no. It said no. And the big trigger point was I had quite a significant loss. And on that day, when all that played out, my body just collapsed. It absolutely collapsed. And a significant relationship at the time also was coming to an end. I didn't want to believe it. I didn't want to see it, because life is going great. Let's go, go, go. So this habit, this pattern of bypassing and trying to stay in this mindset that just became my crutch. Right, it was my crutch. For some
Yeah.
people, their crutch is alcohol or smoking or some other unhealthy habit, right? So this was my crutch, eustress. That was my drug. And my relationship with it was so incredibly strong that I didn't listen to what was happening in my body, even though it was my job to help people to decode and decipher what is going on in your body when there's stress, when there's trauma. I realized that I wasn't listening to my body in the way that it needed me to listen to. And this is the biggest challenge that we're having, Stacey, is that we think we're listening, we hear a problem, we feel pain, and then suddenly we apply a solution. But
Hmm.
most of the time, we apply the wrong solution to a problem. And then we find ourselves spinning our wheels. Oh, but I've tried everything and it doesn't work. Well, yeah. Do you really understand? Do you really understand the problem that you're facing?
Right.
That that was the point that cracked me wide open. And it forced me to look at things from a completely different angle, completely different perspective, and really having to reevaluate my mindset towards success, because I felt such a fear of changing my lifestyle, my way of achieving my success, because now in my subconscious mind, I associated staying safe, achieving success with needing this anger as an underlying fuel to turn into my positive perceived stress and then
Yeah.
go out there and conquer the world. I didn't know how to be successful in any other way. So, in order
Yeah.
to maintain my success, I had to hold on to that anger. But holding on to that anger nearly cost me my life.
Wow.
Emotions, emotions, Stacey, nearly
Hmm.
ended my life. And you know what happened? Here's the funny part. I'm going to share this as well, because as sad as it is, it's also to put a funny spin on this. So I had this heart attack in a third world country. And I remember I was lying in the bed in the afternoon, the doctor came in, and he wasn't really the type of doctor that valued, patient relationship care. So and he walked in just through this white box on my bed. And he walked out and he turned around again and he had this one arm and a hip and he said to me, Evette, you don't have a heart problem. You have a goddamn stress problem. And then he walked out. And that was my briefing. And I looked at the box. He gave me a box of Valium. That's what he gave me.
My
And
God.
I'm lying there, and I was, I was still, when after an experience like that, you stay and feel out of breath for a while, you feel weak, you literally feel stripped of all your energy. And you feel like you're on the verge of having another one because the fear is now there as well. And I'm being sent back to my house like that. And my mom was luckily at the house as well. And she was there to help me to get better and to get back on my feet, just slowly, step by step, with this box of Valium.
My God.
Isn't that powerful? Right? How you can't make this up. It's like even my mom was like, "Are you sure this is what you're supposed to have?" And I said, "Yeah." Well, he said I had broken heart syndrome. Apparently, that's what it is. And so I'm diving into this. What does that mean? Even broken heart syndrome? Like, what do you call, who calls an ailment that? And
Yeah.
so when I started to research more, it's a stress-induced heart attack because we don't have heart problems in our family. Our hearts are rock solid.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, this knocked me over. And this happened to me? Me? So I had an ego death. I had an awakening. So
Hmm.
much happened in that one moment. And I realized you can have, or you can think you have, the best mindset. It
Hmm.
doesn't mean that your body is necessarily going to agree with that mindset. You can tell yourself only so many things to feel so many things, but it doesn't mean that your body is going to feel it either. And now looking back at it even more, dissociation, it's
Yeah.
dangerous. Because when you're in that freeze collapse state, your
Hmm.
body's releasing endorphins to help you to feel comfortable while you're in that freeze response.
Right.
So we don't feel as much as what we probably should, so
Yeah.
that our emotions can guide us to let us know, hey, we're actually not okay. And then
Right.
top throw eustress on top of that. It was a toxic cocktail that was bound to go wrong.
Yeah.
And it absolutely went wrong for me. At that young age, I still process it sometimes, thinking there's some days when I sit back and I think, wow, I didn't see the light, Stacey. You didn't get that far. Because some
Yeah.
people ask me, did you see the light? And I'm like, no, thank God I did not. And I say, thank God, no, I did not. Because, there is a part of me that I do love my life. I
Yeah.
just needed to start to love it in a healthier way. I needed to redefine my definition of what a healthy life is and my definition of love as well. So this was a catastrophic moment that was absolutely the catalyst for me to completely change my life. And I'm not telling anyone else to do what I did, but this is what I did. I left that relationship. I left the business. I walked away from everything. The house, everything. Sold the
Wow.
whole lot. Sold everything. I had 2 suitcases. Came to Indonesia, Bali, and just healed and just recovered and had my pity party and got back on my feet. And one powerful thing that I learned, Stacey, about mindset, in order to really truly cultivate a powerful, healthy mindset that can last, is to learn how to have a positive relationship with support,
Yeah.
asking for support. That was my pet peeve. That was my issue because I didn't trust.
Right.
And life threw me and forced me to my knees to the point where I didn't have a choice. I had to ask for help because I was not okay.
Right.
And it took a lot for me to admit that I was not okay. And that actually turned into my greatest strength. Because Stacey, that's when my life really changed. And it only improved my resilient, I call it my resilient mindset.
Yeah.
Because when I asked for support and I had the right people come in to help me to work through, my emotions, to work through my childhood, to work through everything that I just walked away from, and You feel shell shocked. It's like, who am I if I'm not speaking and teaching? Who am I if I'm not being an author? Who am I if I'm not always ticking the box? Who am
Yeah,
I if I don't have this big house?
right.
I labeled my identity with so many physical things that I lost myself in all of it. Because
Yes.
when it was gone, that's when the real breakdown came. I thought the heart attack was bad enough as it was, but let me
Yeah.
tell you, now is the emotional breakdown with the
Yeah.
reality and realization of how I thought my mindset was so rock solid. I felt unbreakable.
Yeah.
And then going to other extreme and seeing the other side of it.
Wow.
So that's my answer to your question. So this, I mean, that was whew, that was huge. That was incredible for me. It now looking back at it, I'm that stubborn person where something needs to knock me, the feather, the tap. No, it's the brick, right? So that was me. Now it's the feather. I've now redefined my stubbornness because stubbornness used to be a flex, right? And
Right.
now it was a toxic trait for me personally. It didn't serve me as well as what I thought it did. So there was a whole redefining what life meant, what success meant, what money meant, what relationships meant, what love meant, what my childhood meant to me.
Yeah.
So everything that gave me power was toxic. So I had to relearn how to pull and draw my power and my strength from a healthy place. Because,
Yeah.
Stacey, that is when you're looking at sustainable success. That is when you're looking at sustainable wealth. We
Right.
don't always ask, what is that underlying driving factor that's pushing me to do what I'm doing today? That's pushing me to reach this goal that I'm waking up 5 a.m. every morning for?
Yeah.
We don't always necessarily ask what is the underlying root driver of that. We're just seeing often, the financial benefit, or, proving that person wrong, or, but let me
Yeah.
tell you, that underlying factor is going to make or break
Yeah.
whether your outcome is going to be sustainable. Because if that underlying factor is unhealthy, it's going
Yes.
to mean that you need to hold on to that unhealthy factor in order to maintain the success, because that's the association that you made with acquiring that success,
Right.
right? And that's why we will fiddle and wobble and babble to not deal with certain issues, because it will meddle with this root driving, motivating factor that we're throwing a blind eye to. And that was a very, very important lesson that I have learned.
How did you know where to start? Like so many people, they go through similar situations where they have anger or stress, that's their motivator, and they walk around with a smile, but inside they have all that stressful energy or all
Oh,
that
yeah.
anger that is their fuel. And there's no happiness,
Mm,
there's no joy. And they say, yeah, yeah, I'm happy. Yeah, yeah, I'm good. But they're really not, because it's that negative emotion that is their fuel, and it caused you a heart attack that almost killed you. Now
yeah.
you realize this, but you knew that a change had to be made. You knew that it was time
Mm,
to turn your life around. You knew that this was not the right life for you, and you walked away from it. But then the question is, how did you know how to begin? How did you realize what the true problem was, and how were you
right.
able to like start working on it? Because you mentioned you working on your life, working on success, working on love, and going into your childhood. And, you learned about yourself by stripping your titles and really going, deep down and figuring out who you are.
Yeah.
Where most of
Mm,
society nowadays, if you ask them that question, who are you? They'll start whipping out their titles. But you tell them, okay, take all those titles away. Who are you without those titles? And people will look dumbfounded at you, and they won't know what to say, because they don't know. Without those titles, they don't know who they are. So for you, where did the moment come where you said, I'm going to change, and now you knew exactly how to figure out where to begin. Because most people will say, well, how do I do it? Where do I begin? Because they
Yeah.
want to feel all those things. They just don't know how to
Yeah.
start.
Yeah. So this is a really great question. So for me personally, my turning point for that was when after all of that happened and I started to wake up every morning and I'm asking myself, what am I waking up for? What am I waking up for? Because I left everything behind. So now what?
Yeah.
What do I start over with? Do I go back to where I was? I'm like, I can't live, I don't want to live that life again. Because
Yeah.
now that I removed myself from it and I can see, whew, was I really happy?
Yeah.
No, no. So removing myself from that, and I'm not saying and I'm just repeating this again. I'm not saying for everyone else, don't go and just walk away from everything. You can do that in a meditation visualization, right? You don't have to actually do it. So
Exactly.
just keep that in mind. A lot can happen in our imaginations, right? It's a very powerful way to connect to emotions and also certain narratives. And so for me, it was that dullness, like not having that high anymore.
Yeah.
And the drop from that high, Stacey, it's hard. It's almost like an addict recovering from a drug addiction, right?
Yeah.
Suddenly that high is not there and you plummet. And now I really have to feel what's going on. And my body took full advantage of it. It's like, here you go. Here you
Mhm.
go. Here it all it is. All in glory. Right. And
Yeah.
so I finally just, instead of attacking my emotions, instead of criticizing it, instead of making myself wrong for not feeling well when it's my job to make people happy, when I
Yeah.
just pushed and shut down all those voices, and when I started to normalize pain for
Yeah.
myself, like I normalize it for my clients, that's when the real true healing started. Because
Mhm.
that gave me the ability to feel, to really feel. Because when we feel pain, when we feel negative emotions, your body's not there to sabotage you. It's there to tell you, hey, something's going on and
Mhm.
something's coming up that we need to let go of so that you can live your best life.
Yeah.
So what do we do with that emotion? We suppress it, we throw alcohol in it, we throw a cigarette at it, we
Mhm.
throw, drugs at it, we throw, maybe over excessive exercising at it, or whatever it is, whatever we overdo with the conscious or subconscious intention to
Yeah.
avoid, that's not helpful. That's coping. I understand that every day is going to be the right day to deal with big stuff. Absolutely. These bypasses, they have their place. But when it
Yeah.
comes a chronic bypass, you're going to have a chronic problem, right?
Yeah.
So it's about coming back to feeling safe to feel. Because, Stacey, you know what? The world teaches us how to fight, how to survive, how to be successful, how to conquer.
Yeah.
The world doesn't teach us how to deal with emotions. It
No.
doesn't teach us how to heal. It
No.
doesn't teach us how to decode our
No.
emotions and how to sit in it.
Hmm.
There's no time for it. Oh no, that's for weak people. You want to feel your emotions? What, are you a hippie? No, that's not what this is about. I'm telling you, the things that people have said to me have blown my mind. I've worked with thousands of people, and it's just the feedback sometimes that comes from people and the interpretations of things, and I'm thinking, wow, that's not what emotions are.
Yeah.
Why do you think we have emotions? I say
Right.
always, emotions is the GPS of the soul.
Yeah.
That is what tells you, are you living your best life? Are you doing what really truly makes you happy? Are you doing where your soul's path is trying to take you to?
Yeah.
If there's resistance, if there's pain, if there's discomfort, something is out of alignment. You are not in alignment.
Right.
Now we need to look at why. You might be living your best life, but you might be holding certain thoughts that pulls you out of alignment to really fully take in the life that you have.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's look at discomfort. It's not that there's something wrong with you, right? So here we go into the judgment. There's something wrong with you. There's the shame around feeling certain emotions. It's the same, and I want to share this example because this for me was very powerful and one that was probably one of my most cathartic and biggest healing experiences and greatest gifts that I gave myself was the
Yeah.
permission to cry. permission to cry.
Yes.
Because crying is one of the body's healing strategies. Did you know that? It's a healing strategy.
I didn't
Because
know
when
that.
you cry, the cortisol, everything comes out through the tears. We also, the way that you breathe when you cry, the two short breaths and then long, it's
Yeah.
designed to regulate the nervous system. Did you know
Oh,
that?
I didn't know that. No.
Absolutely. And crying is also the body's way of discharging that autonomic nervous energy. Now, what happens when someone cries? Oh my God, get a tissue, don't cry. Like, stop, stop. It's like telling the body, stop healing, don't do that. That's not good. We don't cry here. That's shameful. Girls don't cry, boys don't cry. We're taught to shut down a natural healing strategy that the body has. Now, people tell me, well, Evette, that's great. Well, I cry a lot, but I don't feel better afterwards. You know what I tell them?
What?
My first question is, do you feel safe when you cry? And then there's the blank. And they say no. And I said, well, there you go. Because did you know your nervous system is not going to regulate with its own natural healing strategy if it doesn't feel safe with that stress? You can cry until your eyes are shut. Your body's not going to regulate. And that's because of the association that you made with crying. Because
Mm.
even though now, Stacey, let's say I'm crying, but in the
Right.
past, I was, smacked or hit, or my dad was violent, right? So I wasn't, I didn't get the graceful daughter upbringing. And
Yeah.
so crying for me, the moment I start to cry, my subconscious mind and my nervous system is saying, you're going to get beaten up. Stop it. Stop
Yeah.
it. Right. So when I cry, I would freeze and I would lock, and I don't want to cry. So I hold it in, and I hold it in, and I hold it in. Where's all that energy going? Your body's trying to complete a cycle, but it cannot.
Right.
Right. And so when people ask me, well, Yvette, so what do I do if I see someone crying or if I'm crying? Well, the
Yeah.
first thing to start to realize in that moment that what you're doing is perfectly normal. You're designed to do it. You're designed to do it,
Yeah.
right? And if someone else cries, just be the compassionate witness. Don't go in there, oh, it's going to be okay. No, it's not going to be okay for that person in that moment. That's the worst thing to say. The
Right.
best thing that you can say is, I'm here with you right now. I'm right here with you. Because now you become part of the solution. You actually help them to co-regulate,
Right.
right? Give them a tissue. That's the worst thing that you can do. Why? Because you're interrupting that moment, making them feel there's something wrong with what they're doing. Let the
Right.
person ask you, oh, I need a tissue now. Because now
Right.
you become a resource to them. You're part
Yeah.
of that compassionate support, right? Same for us. So this is one of the greatest gifts that I gave myself. If I need to have a moment, I'm like, I'm going to have it. I don't care who feels what about it. I'm going to have it. And afterwards, I feel so great.
Yeah.
It's a positive thing, right? So this was the second greatest gift that I gave myself, because I was always thinking people with a successful mindset, no, 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 we're always tip top, we're ready for anything, we
Yes.
always have the right answer, we always say the right thing, we show up in the right way, we dress the right way, it's all about this perfectionist box that we always have to tick. But
Yeah.
where's the human factor in that?
Yeah.
Where's the being human part in that?
Right.
And the challenge that I see with that is we need to start normalizing being human. And while we're on our path to success, while we're developing our mindset, listen, it's not a graceful path. And anyone tells you that it is, they're lying to you. There's
Right.
nothing graceful about it. We all have our moments. We all have our hiccups.
Yeah.
People who speak on stage, oh, my life is so great and this and that. I'm like, yeah, about that. For me, I just want to run when I hear people say that, because no one is above pain. No
Yeah.
one is above sadness. No one is above a breakdown. No one is above having just a bad day,
Right.
right? You can do everything right. And sometimes we wake up and we our subconscious mind processed a few things in our dreams and we wake up feeling slightly dysregulated and we
Yeah.
just feel off the whole day and we feel a bit snappy. That happens. No one's above that.
Right.
So the more we can start to normalize just having normal emotions, having normal motions as we
Yeah.
progress on this path to where it is that we want to go.
Yeah.
That to me is just going to strengthen your mindset because it takes, Stacey, so much energy to try to hold yourself together and come across a certain way.
Yeah.
Once that energy is not needed to be invested in that anymore,
Yeah.
oh, how much free energy are you going to have now?
That's
How much
true.
free energy are you going to have to do other things, to entertain maybe more positive thoughts, be more open to other things in your life that you couldn't be because you were so stressed holding on to being a certain way that you couldn't see all these other opportunities coming in this way because you were looking this way. You
Yeah.
know? I learned that. So for me, the more accepting I can be of myself, the more it actually improved my mindset because it
Right.
would free me up to focus on what really truly mattered,
Yeah.
right? It's through awareness. And that awareness, we tap into that awareness when we start to ask ourselves, well, okay, I'm not happy with where I am in my life right now, but this
Yeah.
is where I want to. So now I'm standing at A, but I want to be at B. Okay, well, now we need to ask ourselves the question, what is standing between A and B? What is
Yes.
standing between me and where it is that I want to be? Now, a lot of people might say, oh my God, like they want to have a meltdown. Like, where do I even begin? And
Right.
it's not that complicated. It's
No.
not that complicated. For me, I needed to find my peace. I
Yes.
needed to find my peace, and my body needed to know that it's finally safe after having been in such a turbulent upbringing.
Mm-hmm.
And when I started to find that peace, when I started to find that safety in myself,
Right.
that's when it started to stabilize. Because a lot of people hook onto other people and circumstances as their safety anchor, um, as their happiness,
Yeah.
which works. It absolutely can work if that person or that environment is safe to do so.
Yes.
But the challenge with that is that in environments and
Mm-hmm.
people change. They
Yes.
fluctuate and they change. And what that means is your safety anchor or your happiness will 100% shift and change and fluctuate. And what do you do then?
Yes.
What do you do then? Your power is not with you.
No.
So I had, and I did that, right? That was the business, that was the relationship, that was, the loss that I had. Everything was that I attached my happiness to just
Yes.
collapsed all in a week. In a week, in a very short period of time. So it was a complete overhaul. And it was a lot. I wouldn't recommend it to a lot. I would not recommend it, but it was a lot.
Yeah.
And that's where I had to start to learn, how do I find that in me? Why is it that I can't find that in myself? And it's because I didn't feel safe in my own body. And I got involved and busy with so many other things to just not feel.
Yes.
And then it nearly cost me my life.
Wow. That's so powerful. Now, there are
Yeah.
so many people out there that use negative energy to fuel them, and they have so many repressed emotions. And some people are just not in a safe, I've seen people in not safe environments where they're afraid to show their emotions. They're afraid to cry. And you can see them just, their health is just eating away and they're declining and they're suffering from this and that and that. And one illness is popping up after another. And it
Mhm.
has to do with what they're going through. Now, a lot of people want to change. A lot of people, they want to feel better. Now, are there some things they could do at home to begin this transformational journey? Can they do certain exercises or certain skills or strategies that you suggest to get them on this journey of healing
Mhm.
their inner self?
I love that question. So I'm going to share with you what personally worked for me and something that I always love to also teach all my clients and students. So for me, the first, and I call this the alpha brainwave state. It's not actually the actual alpha brainwave state that takes you into the alpha state, but it
Yes.
really makes you feel so regulated afterwards that, oh, it's just like you feel like you're moving to the alpha state. And that is to
Yeah.
breathe a deep breath in the mouth and out the nose and do that 13 times. And then the
13.
last breath, hold as long as you feel comfortable. And Stacey, when you hold your breath, that stillness, that peace, that serenity that just flows and washes over you is incredible. It's a
Wow.
trick that you can do. You can quickly go to the restroom and just, right? It doesn't have to be these massive exaggerated breaths. I mean, if you're an extremist, then go for it, but it's not necessary.
Yeah.
So that for me, when I feel upset, when I don't feel good, it's the best thing. Just one set will 100% regulate you. It is incredible. And the second one that worked really well for me, especially if you had a lot of circumstances in your past where you felt locked into the circumstances, you wanted to get away, but you couldn't. And
Right.
that means that the runaway response, like wanting to get out, like that cortisol being released to run,
Yes.
that's going to be very prominent. It's going to be very strong. And normally people who struggle with anger, which was, also me, tend to have that those experiences in their childhood, feeling locked in circumstances where they couldn't get away from, whether it's maybe just hostility or just nasty people or just a negative environment. It can be something as simple as that, right? It doesn't have to be something catastrophic. You're going to know that that fight response is going to be very suppressed. And the best thing that you can do for a fight response, if there's not a lot that you can, go to the gym or do, for me,
Yes.
what helps is to actually stand up and jump until I am tired, and shake your arms and your legs, as much as you can during that time, but you must jump until you're tired because that jumping, that movement also regulates the autonomic nervous system. And you're also discharging that buildup of that nervous energy and you regulate. It's for me, it sounds so simple, but this is for me just a powerful recipe, because
Yeah.
my anger was explosive, but I
Yeah.
didn't take it out on people. I held it here. So that explosion went inward instead of outward. So
Wow.
these techniques really, really was incredibly powerful for me. And I cannot speak more highly enough of it.
Oh, I love that. I love
It's
that. Now,
simple but powerful. Anyone can do it.
when it comes to stripping your identity and figuring out who you are, and so then you could start learning who you are and what you really want from life, would you
Yeah.
suggest starting maybe a journal and then maybe writing your titles down and then trying to, think about who you are and what represents you besides those titles? Like, how did you figure out your identity, your true identity?
Absolutely. I love that. So journaling, absolutely. So what you can do is you can start to write down and say, if you had to make a column, what are all the things that you feel you are scared of losing,
Yeah.
right? Make a list. And then the other column, write down, who would I be without that? So it's
Hmm.
important to focus on the biggest triggers because that's where we have the strongest hold, right? So
Yes.
list that down and then look at who would I be without that? And if you find it hard to answer that, or you don't like what you're writing down, the next question would be, what steps can I take to correct that? Because
Yeah.
you are the creator
Yes.
of what you're writing down there. So what do you want to do with that? It's not about waiting, oh, how are these circumstances going to change that would allow me then to change? No, internal work, that's all you. You can do that. You can do that slowly, small steps. I took small steps. There's no need to ram into all of this, right? So
Yeah.
just small steps. And that can be an incredibly great step already to start to take. And the other point, and I don't know how other people feel about this. We are all on different stages of our journey, right? But for me, asking for help, Stacey, now it's a flex.
Yes.
Now I I believe every coach, every psychologist, every psychiatrist must have at least another psychologist or a support person that they can go to once a month, once every 6 months, or once a year. I don't care how regular it is, but
Yeah.
to have someone that is unbiased, that is not part of the problem, that you can just talk to just offload,
Yes.
this became one of the most powerful experiences to finally be able to ask for support and to not feel ashamed to say, God, I need to talk to someone right now. I just need to let it out. And then you feel great afterwards. You feel heard. That person even could have given you really good constructive advice that's not attached to or unbiased to your circumstances.
Yeah.
And you know that person's there in the background.
Right.
Just me knowing there's someone that I can go to and talk to, it's an anchor.
Yeah.
It's an anchor. And they don't have to do much to be that anchor for me. It's just me knowing, wow, there's someone that I always can go and have a chat to if I need to just offload something, or maybe I had a bad dream and now I need to process a lot of big emotions. Like, wow, I'm gonna reach out. Let's go check out what happened there. I actually see it now from a positive perspective. I start to now, I wouldn't say I get excited. However, I have a more graceful, more accepting approach to dealing with my challenges because I don't attack it anymore. I don't
Yeah.
suppress it anymore. My
Yeah.
body is talking to me, and I'm like, all right, I hear you. Let's sit down. Let's decode this. Let's figure it out. Because your body, that heart in your chest, it's beating for you, no
Yeah.
one else. Your
Yes.
body is breathing and living just for you. It has no benefit in knocking your health upside down.
Yes.
No benefit, right? So let's start listening to it. Let's start working with it. And let's start rebuilding that relationship, because that will bring you back on a path of self compassion. That compassion that you have for others struggling,
Right.
that needs to come to you as well. And when I
100%.
started to learn to have that compassion for myself, this I almost call it self-abuse behavior.
Yeah.
It really changed my relationship with a lot of ways that I used to live my life,
Yeah.
because I started to care more about myself, and I started to see more how things are affecting me. And I'm starting to ask myself, but why would I want to do that? Do I
Yeah.
really want to do that? So my
Right.
body is really trying its best to help me when I go and do things that's counterbalancing that. For
Mm-hmm.
what purpose?
Right.
What is your relationship with struggle? Now that opens up a whole new door, right? So, but some of us, we need a struggle so that we can access the cortisol, so that we can get into our successful mindset. But that in itself, you see that gateway,
Yeah.
that's a toxic gateway.
I was just gonna
That's
say
not
it's a
healthy.
toxic one. Yeah.
There we go. So mine was anger, right? So other people's can be, struggling. It can be procrastinating, waiting to the last minute, and then, that panic and rushing to get things done because they ride off of that high. And then, we tick the box and we get it done, and whew, it's all over now. But then you need to take the weekend off because you're so exhausted, instead of going out, sitting by the riverside and having, a nice conversation with a really good friend. But you're busted, you're exhausted.
Yeah.
So you see how these small strategies, these different ways of doing things to maintain a rock solid mindset. But that foundation of your mindset is going to make or break it. You can be in a great mindset and it can be toxic,
Mm-hmm.
but your quality of life is going to be unhealthy. Deep
Right.
down, there's a high chance you're not going to be happy. And
Yes.
I learned that. I learned that the hard way.
I think a lot of people learn that the hard way, because
Yeah.
it's something I think a lot of people go through, and you can see it, like,
Mm.
when you learn about it and you understand it, you can spot it in people that they're living off a toxic high. They're not
Oh,
living off
yeah.
positive high. Now, for me, it took a while to, like, really I had to strip my identity. I had to learn who I really was. I had to love and like who I was and accept who I was. And then I had to pay attention to my body and pay attention to how my gut, my heart, my mind, how my body
Yeah.
reacted to certain emotions and certain things in my life. And then I was able to make that connection with my body and my brain and my heart and understand what it was trying to tell me. Like for a lot of people, I don't think a lot of people know how to make that connection. They don't know that their body is actually talking to them. Their body, is always talking to them. It's always trying to give them direction. It's
Yeah.
always giving an answer. But people miss it. They don't get it. They're just saying, "Oh, I have a pain. Oh, my arms. Oh, my fingers I have inflammation in my fingers." And a lot of times people don't realize the root cause. For you, how do you explain to people, or maybe make it simple in a way where they can understand how to make that connection with their body so they can understand what their body is trying to tell them, so then they can make the next step and start healing their body?
I love that question. So, what the first step, number one, is when something in your body goes wrong, is to just pause before you pop a pill, before you do anything, just pause. And of course, always, always consult with the doctor, right? Always make sure that there's not an underlying medical challenge, because when there's discomfort, it can go two ways. There's something in the body that's medically maybe challenged, and the body needs a little bit of support, or it could be that it's psychosomatic, right? We know that we have psychosomatic, like the heart attack that I had, it was psychosomatic, right? It was related to emotions. We know that irritable bowel syndrome, it's psychosomatic. Ulcers, it's psychosomatic. It's an ailment that could cause the stomach even to bleed, but yet they say no, it's not really an ailment. No, it's psychosomatic. Like, what else is psychosomatic? All right. So,
Exactly.
so yeah. So the moment when something becomes out of alignment, right? There's pain, and you've excluded that there could be a medical underlying cause. What was going on in your life at the time?
Hmm.
Backtrack. What stress was going on? What thoughts were you entertaining?
Hmm.
And just, did you feel happy? Did you feel sad? Okay, well, this is a great place to start. Well, I didn't feel that great during that time. Okay, let's backtrack. How do you know that you felt upset? What
Yeah.
did you need to feel or see or experience to know that you're upset? And then you're going to get an answer. And then
Hmm.
based on that answer, you backtrack it one more step. Okay, great. So, how did I then feel before I started to feel that? What did I need to notice and feel in myself to know that this was going on? Right. So,
Right.
this is really great creative way. So, just gently backtrack, backtrack, backtrack. And then most likely there's a strong possibility that you can start to maybe notice, wow, that person said that and it triggered this injustice in me. Okay, so where is this injustice really coming from? Did they really cause you to feel that? When was the last time that you felt injustice? When was the last time that something felt unfair to you? What feels unfair right now? Or maybe something in the past that you glazed over because you didn't have time to deal with it. Because, yes, sometimes we get stuck in survival responses. I did too. So it's just really about stepping out of that space and start asking creative questions and
Right.
not being afraid to answer them. Because that brings you back into the body. That brings our awareness back into the body, because our awareness is set over there where the
Yeah.
money is, where the success is, where all these other great things are.
Yeah.
Okay, well, no, the awareness needs to come back here. If you're looking over there, you can't see what's going on. If you look to the right, you can't see what's going on to the left. It's the same
Right.
with emotions. It's the same with the body. If your focus is on achieving this thing or avoiding feeling a certain emotion, well, now I have to feel the very thing that you're trying to avoid.
Yeah.
It's understanding that emotions, they're not your enemy.
Yeah.
That's your path to liberation.
Right.
It's your relationship and how you interpret that emotion that makes it feel uncomfortable. Because, Stacey, what you're feeling, it's over. It's in the
Hmm.
past.
Yeah.
Right now, this very moment, if something happened 10 minutes ago, that emotion is a result of something that's in the past.
Hmm.
It's not real in that moment. In most cases, granted, maybe you had an argument, now you feel fueled. Okay, I get that. But in most cases, it's over.
Yeah.
And when I start to tell myself that, it already helps me to feel, okay, wow, okay, we're dealing with something in the past. It's over. It's already done. Okay. It's not an immediate threat. And
Yeah.
that makes it already easier to dive
Yeah.
into.
Right.
And if it is an immediate threat, do your breath work. Do your breath work, regulate, pause, take time out. And when you have a chance, go back later and then reassess. How did I feel in that moment? Don't force yourself to do it in that moment. This is what
Yeah.
I call self-care. Practice
Mm.
that self-compassion, that self-care. Put the, like it's on the airplane, right? Put the mask on your face first before you help anyone else,
Yeah.
right? So put your mask on, figurative speech, help
Yeah.
yourself. And then we can go back and say, okay, body, what was going on? Right? What
Mhm.
was going on? Now let's
Yeah.
reassess that from a place of clarity, a place
Yes.
of clarity. So I
And what
hope
do
that helps. So
you
that's really wonderful ways of diving into that. And even if you have a medical problem, when did the medical problem start? What in my
Mhm.
life was stressful during that time that could have exacerbated or add more stress to my life that made this medical problem more painful or more prominent, right? So, I mean, there's that book that I wrote, Metaphysical Anatomy. I mean, there's 722 medical elements in there. And I
Wow.
captured all the emotions and the patterns that's rooted in these ailments. And the powerful thing that I noticed in that is, Stacey, it doesn't matter if you are in Canada and you
Yeah.
have arthritis in your left hand, and there's a lady in Australia that has arthritis in her left hand, you are going to have the exact same trauma patterns.
Wow.
Isn't that wild? If
That,
someone tells me they have an ailment, I can tell you exactly what's going on in your life and what's behind that. And it bowls people over, right?
yeah.
That's why that book is used in, universities, hospitals, psychologists, with doctors, and any person that just wants to learn and understand more about what's going on in their body. And that's why I wrote that book. It's to help people, to give them a gateway to start to look, okay, well, if I have this pain in my body, let's go see, what does it say? Do I relate to it? And then
Yes.
there's a lot of points that they relate to. And this triggers the door of awareness. This opens up the door wide open. It cracks it open
Yeah.
to go, wow, I never would have thought that this is what it was. And so a
Right.
lot of people use that book in conjunction with their therapy,
Right.
because now we can start to understand a little bit more, what was the body trying to say. So if it's hard for you, you can grab a copy of the book, but the advice that I already gave you here today, that already will help you tremendously. Tremendously. Yeah.
Now, a question I have for you is that I see so many people having a hard time letting go because they can't let go of the past. Even though that
Yeah.
emotion no longer exists, their mind still makes it like it's still there, like it's in the present. How do we let go and get our mindset to the point where we know and realize and accept that the past is the past, we can't change the past, and then focus on the present? Because what happens to a lot of people that I talk to is that they focus on the past and then they go right to the future. And let's say it's a confrontation with somebody, or let's say they're having stress, they're thinking about what's going to happen in the future, and they've already
Mhm.
created a scenario in their brain. Then they're working up
Alternate
their,
reality.
yeah, and their cortisol is going through the roof because they're
Yeah.
creating a situation that may not even evolve, that's make believe in their imagination, but they're relating it to that past event. So they're working from the past and they're focusing on the present, but they're not focusing on not the present. They're not focusing on the present. They're just focusing on the past and the future. How do we let go healthily in a healthy manner?
So I'm going to bring this back to safety.
Okay.
You're not going to let go if you don't feel safe within the circumstances and what had happened. It's the
Hmm.
injustice, the unfairness. There's and this is where parts work. I call it parts work. I mean, it's a very well-known, technique. It's not mine, but this is where there's a part of you that is stuck in the past, that's holding on to something or wanted to do something but couldn't, and
Yeah.
it feels unresolved. So what I normally do when I work with people, and you can do this all by yourself in meditation, and I would do this with someone that you feel safe with. So you just feel that there's, especially if it was a stressful circumstance, don't do it alone.
Hmm.
But imagine yourself just going back to that space, Call in your future higher self, the part of you that already has overcome all of this, because that part is there. There is that wiser you.
Yep.
Call that wiser future self into that moment and let that future wiser self hold that compassionate space for you. And then
Mhm.
go to that part that feels unresolved and ask that part, what do you want to do?
Mhm.
What do you want to do instead of holding on to all of this? Is
Yes.
there something else that you want to do? Because that part of you is in conflict. It doesn't want to
Mhm.
hold that burden anymore, but it feels
Right.
so unresolved. And for that part then to be communicated to, and knowing that the future wiser self and you are there to nail down what needs to be done there. And then let that part go and do what it needs to do through visualization. Let
Mhm.
that, and normally you'll find it's a younger part of you.
Yeah.
It's normally a very childlike or a teenage part of you. Let that part go and do what it needs to do. And that already starts to collapse that hold that we have, because that hold is also created because there's a part of us that is in conflict with that moment that feels so deeply unresolved.
Right.
Give it something else to do, set it free. What does it want to do? Right? That little girl inside that had to hold it all together because showing emotions wasn't safe. Well, what do you want to go and do instead of holding on to this, my love? What do you want to do? I want to
Yeah.
go play. Amazing. Go. And then see that part just running off. Go play your future wiser self, and you are there to handle the situation as it is. And you're going to feel an incredible sense of peace come over you. Right. So it's about integrating these different parts of us that's now scattered, that's fragmented as a result of these past stressful or traumatic experiences. And
Yeah.
these parts, they want to be released. So that's a beautiful way that you can already start to just gracefully let go. And I notice also forgiveness. I actually made a video called The Forgiveness Trap. I stay away from the word forgiveness. I
Oh, yeah.
don't touch that word with a 10-foot pole, no. Because
Oh,
so many people say, okay, I'm going to go and forgive this person, but they have still so much rage. They still have so much pain in them. And I'm like, you're doing this backwards. You're doing it backwards. Oh, no, but forgiveness will release that. I'm like, yeah, no, it doesn't work that way. Because
yeah.
when you sit there and you decide, okay, I'm going to forgive, are you really truly ready to forgive? How do you know that?
Mhm.
Sometimes people create a moment of denial
Yeah.
because they're so fed up feeling the way that they do that they create a bypass around what
Mhm.
they're actually really feeling and then telling themselves that they have forgiven. But just to be confronted with that situation, maybe tomorrow or the next day, you're going to see the pain is still there,
Yeah.
right? For me, forgiveness is spontaneous. It
Mhm.
is spontaneous. You don't even have to think about it
Yeah.
when you heal deeply. Stacey, from the amount of people that I've worked with, I can tell you that very, very clearly. That is not something that you decide. That is something that is spontaneous when the healing has really truly taken place. When you've really found that place of acceptance, when you
Mhm.
really found that place of anchoring in yourself and feeling safe. Right?
Yes.
That's something that I have learned. So when I say to a client, are you ready to let that go? You can see the body language. They go into fight mode. They almost get angry. They start to feel aggressive.
Yeah.
So just the words. So it's about how can I embrace these circumstances so that I can now live my best life. So it's about reframing. I've noticed words carry power. They
Yeah.
carry so much power. So it's about how can I reframe the situation and how I feel about it so that I can start to feel more comfortable addressing it and start
Mm.
to move away from it, right? Because
Right.
let go. You want to tell me I have to let them get away with what they did to me? Right, so this is where it triggers that, right? It triggers the unfairness. It hits you right in that injustice button, if I can call it that. I mean, I'm talking from my own personal experience. I don't know if you can relate.
Oh, I
That's
can relate.
definitely right? So I had to learn to be careful using the words because I would get myself revved up in a moment where I'm actually trying to heal myself and I'm finding myself feeling even more angry. And I
Yeah.
realized, wait, backtrack. Let's backtrack. We need to use different terminology. So find your words, find your healing words. If you
Mhm.
work with a therapist and they're using words that you find revs you up, tell them that. Can we try to use maybe this word? This I feel is more in alignment with holding that space for me now to feel safer to maybe look at things a different way. And how do we know that? Listen to your body. Listen to your body. It's always talking to you, it's always telling you what it likes and doesn't like. It's
Yeah.
just, are you going to listen to that? Are you
Right.
listening to that feedback? Are you taking it on board?
Right. Oh, I
Yeah.
love that. I love that. Now, give our audience a 24-hour challenge that will move them one step closer to empowerment by this time tomorrow.
Oh, I love that. Okay, so everyone, listen up. That breathwork exercise I told you about, you have to try it if you haven't already, because normally when I talk about it, people are already exercising it. Please, please, I kid you not. I call it the alpha brainwave state. It's not technically speaking actually taking you into an alpha state. However, it just feels like it because it really just it resets you. It resets your nervous system. In the mouth, out the nose 13 times. Last breath in the mouth, hold as long as you can. It's best to lie down when you do it. You are going to feel dizzy. Drop into it, just lose yourself in it and just feel that sense of calmness just washing over you. And what you can do is to jump first and then do the breathwork exercise. So
Oh,
that's going to be your 24-hour challenge. So go for it and let Stacey know how that went for you. Did it help you? Let us know.
yes.
Yeah.
Put it in the comment box. I want to know,
Yeah.
did it help you when you did those two exercises? Now,
Yes,
I want
please.
to know about your book because I just got it just recently.
Oh, that was
And
big one.
it's a big one. And I started to look through it. I didn't get to start, I started the beginning of it, but I haven't really read through it. But as soon as I got it, and as soon as I saw the title, that your body is talking, are you listening? I was like,
Mm,
my heart just fell into my stomach because, there's so many things going on in my life. And so many times we don't listen, and our body is telling us for a reason. And we could heal ourselves naturally in so many ways if we just listen. So you wrote a
yeah.
book that is just like dear to my heart, and I can't wait to
Oh,
sink my teeth into
bless.
it. I want you to tell everybody about this book and what it's about, what the benefits are about reading it, and what it will actually do for other people and how it helps them.
Beautiful. I would love to. So, Stacey, what you're holding there in your hand is a book that I wrote after working with over 7,000 people one-on-one. And let me tell you, I learned a lot. I observed an undeniable pattern that emotions absolutely impacts, if not even can cause an element. We know what psychosomatic elements they are there. And or the doctor will tell you it's all in your head. Have you heard that? Right?
Mm.
So this is an excellent book. It's a reference book, so you don't have to read the whole book back to back. It's more just
Right.
looking at the table of contents. Maybe your back is flaring up. Maybe suddenly your ankle starts to hurt, or now you have stomach pain. Go
Right.
have a look in the book under these headers and
Yes.
see what do you relate to. And there's also key insights that you can go, or reflective questions that you can then ask yourself to go deeper. So the book actually helps you to go deeper into the emotions that you're feeling. And then
Uh,
once you have the answer, what's really great, if you don't have a therapist or if you don't have someone that can help you maybe work through it, in the book you'll see there's a website, where you look under how to use the book. Just
yeah.
simply go to www.guidedhealingsession.com. You're going to find a video where I'm going to talk you through specific questions, and you're going to answer those questions along as we go through the video together. And then I'm going to
Mhm.
take you through breath work and through a healing journey to let those emotions go. So you actually can already start to have your healing experience with that book. And it's a great way and a gentle way to help you to get started, to really get started in quite a powerful way. So have a look. If you feel something's coming up, if you have a challenge with you can't feel what the answer is, go
Mhm.
have a look at the book, because professionals are using it, doctors are using it. I mean, everyone is using it. So it's quite a helpful reference if you're still learning to decode messages in your body.
Oh, I love that. Now,
Yeah.
what's on your bookshelf in the near future?
Oh, so actually what just happened, Stacey, my latest book, it came out, Pain,
Oh,
Solving Pain Without Pills, when the answer
love
is
it.
not in a bottle. So go grab your copy also on Amazon. This is a fun book, jam-packed with real life case studies as well from clients that I work with, different perspective, my own experience with chronic pain. It's so incredibly invaluable. And I took and what I love about it is, and the message that I got when I was writing it, is to take all these complex jargon and just simplify it. Life is complicated enough. So the book is simplified. There also you have, questions that you can ask yourself to understand. If I have pain in my body, what is the message? So that
Yeah.
book will also help you to find the answer. And then you can also go through the guided healing session to release that. And there's also a really wonderful nutritional diet health plan that you can have a look at. And of course, always discuss it with your healthcare practitioner, of course,
Mhm.
because these are only just suggestions for anti-inflammatory approaches. So it's a
Yeah.
really great book if you're having pain or you have discomfort in your body. It's really going to help you to loosen that up.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Now, tell everybody about the different services that you provide.
Another great question. I'm a jack of many trades. So I love to work with people one-on-one. I've also trained thousands of practitioners across the world. So there's a lot of other meta psychology coaching practitioners. I
Mhm.
love to do events. So I have an event also that's just a short 1.5 day workshop, decoding the body's messages, where I actually teach people how to decode the messages. Then I teach a healing technique, which is called Metaphysical Anatomy Technique, which is a 2 day workshop where you can really learn how to work on yourself, or you can become a practitioner in the technique and support other people with it. So I teach you in really safe ways, how to support people, what to work on, what not to work on. And then we have a lot of healing retreats. So I have my women's retreat coming up the end of the year. We have a lot of retreats also, like life reset, spirituality, and everything. And of course, I'm always popping out a book every now and then as well. So I have all these coming up. So I think I'm 21 books now. So yeah, and I'm
Wow.
working on my next one. So I'm
I
really
love
excited.
I'm very excited for you. Now, if we had to take today's conversation, you want to
Yeah,
emphasize on some important factors, what are some things you'd like the listeners to walk away with and remember from our conversation today?
right. So mindset is everything. It's like health, right? If our health is struggling, everything else in your life is going to struggle.
Yes.
Mindset, if it's struggling, everything else in your life is going to struggle, right? So I cannot stress enough how important it is to have an honest, judgment-free evaluation of what are your motor driving factors in life
Yeah.
that you tap into. When you tap into your mindset for success, when you tap into your mindset for living your greatest life,
Yeah.
are these factors healthy? Are
Hmm.
these underlying drivers really truly healthy?
Right.
This this is going to set you up for long-term sustainable success, and not this short-term success and then we burn out or we get tired or we lose it all and we have to go do it all over again.
Yeah.
Right? Sounds familiar.
Oh,
So
yeah.
this is my key takeaway, and this is also my key takeaway from this life. If I have to exit this life, it would be that. It would be that.
Love that. I love that. Now, where can people find you?
So people can find me at metaphysicalanatomy.com, and also on Instagram at Dr. Evette Rose Official. So you can go find me there.
I love it. Well, this has been amazing, Yvette. I love you. You are amazing. This was an amazing episode. I got so much wisdom from from today's conversation. I'm speechless right now. I'm like, oh, you're amazing. So many people go through life and the answers are right inside them and they just
Yeah.
don't know how to make that connection. And
Mm.
so many times people resort to medications for a quick fix, and all it does is numb the symptom, and that's
Yeah.
all. The problem is still there, the emotions are still there, everything is
Yeah.
there, it's not going away. You're just using pills as a temporary mask, and it's only going to persist and probably get worse. So a
Yeah.
book like yours and all these exercises and strategies and tools that you went over today and how
Mm.
you explained it so clearly and so thoroughly was so beneficial because I think it's going to help thousands and thousands of people out there, maybe even
Hope
millions,
so,
because I
yeah.
talk to so many people and, they talk about similar
Mm.
situations that they're going through that are related to what you just talked about today. So
Mm. Mm.
congratulate you on all your accomplishments. You took a very serious situation. You went through some hardships and you overcame the crisis. And you took a serious situation where you could have died and you turned it around.
Mm.
You didn't say, poor me, poor me. It started out like that, but you turned it around very quickly and you learned from it. And then you healed yourself. And then you went out
Mm.
and showed other people how to heal also, which is what I love and what I've been doing my entire life is that when we go through, crisis, we overcome the crisis, we overcome the
Yeah.
obstacles, and then we turn our lives around. And then the best thing you can
Mm.
do is if you can turn your life around, support somebody else, like you said, because the one thing that we didn't go into depth, but I want to just say is that a lot of times they feel an inconvenience to say, I need your help. Don't feel an inconvenience. People are out there that they care, they want to help you. Even strangers that can relate to you or just empathetic individuals, they will help you and they are
Yeah.
there for you. All we have to do is just look for the help. And there are so many people out there, so many good people. Our media loves to bash everything and put a lot of negative energy out. But there are so many great people, positive people in this world
Mm.
that will help another individual in a split second. So if you need help in
Absolutely.
any aspect of your life, get the support, reach out because that will take you a long way. It will help you
Yeah.
tremendously. And I just want to thank you for today.
Amen. I love it.
Mhm.
Love it. Thank you so much, Stacey.
Oh, thank you. And you have a great day.
Thank you too. Bye, everyone.